Before we get started, I'd just like to say that the school I'm about to talk about is in no way a bad school as a whole. It's crazy to think, but I was at this school that I'm about to talk about less than a year ago, and most of the teachers, most of the staff, most of the environment was as a whole positive. I've met some of the people that I respect most at this school, and they were teachers, especially some of their faculty which deals with behaviour. Some of the facilities at Ballacameen are very positive, both as a pupil and as a member of the community. They're good from both aspects. But this one issue is a major issue. It's raising a lot of concern, and quite rightly so. I think it might just be an issue with some members of the higher up management not taking full responsibility and actually being not very empathic in the way they're dealing with this problem. And it's to do with the school toilets. Now, when I was there, which it wasn't that long ago, but I was there for 5 years, and during that entire 5 years I was at the school, the bathrooms weren't touched, they weren't renovated, they weren't cleaned very often, and they were not properly stocked with sanitary products. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I went into the bathroom, the main bathroom that is used, the biggest bathroom, which is also, quite frankly, the dirtiest. On one occasion, the taps didn't work. That happened multiple times while I was there for 5 years. The taps did not work. They did not dispense water, and for a few weeks, they didn't dispense soap. When I took that up with a member of the management faculty, they said that I should have brought my own hand sanitizer. Not only does hand sanitizer not properly wash your hands as well as a proper hand washing does, but we were also in a global pandemic, and they also didn't bear in mind the fact that it is not our responsibility to stock your toilets. It is not our responsibility to have our own sanitary products carrying around a bathroom in our products because you can't be bothered to meet the legal requirement of stocking your bathrooms with correct sanitary products. There is also the issue of use of the toilets. Now, they were very strict in the final years that I was there, in that whenever a student asked to go to the toilet, it depended by teacher to teacher, but generally they were told that students were not really allowed to leave the bathroom because it would lose learning time, and because they are worried that the students would congregate in the bathrooms. Now, I'm not for 1 second insulting the intelligence of the tutors and teachers and staff in Ballacameen High School, but if you look at that from a logical perspective, there are multiple reasons why that does not make sense. Firstly, students at this particular high school possess a planner which has signed written record of every single time they've been to the toilet, and if students are taking advantage of the fact they can go to the toilet during lessons, it will be written down as the time and date and signature of the teacher are all written down in the planner. So all the teacher has to do is look at the planner and see, it's 12 a.m. and this student has already been to the toilet 4 times. That's not really making sense. He clearly has been to the toilet recently. There's also the fact that when a student asks to go get some water because they are thirsty, especially during the summer where it is sweltering hot and they're in a classroom that is basically a greenhouse. There isn't air conditioning in this school, so when it's hot, it's hot. It's like a greenhouse effect. And often students would like to leave the classroom to go get some water, and they are told that they should have got a drink during break time or lunchtime. Double lessons at Ballacameen High School can last for an hour and 40 minutes. This is where it doesn't make sense, because they're meant to drink water during break time, and then in the same 15-minute break time, that water is meant to have travelled throughout their body, and they're meant to have excreted it in the space of 50 minutes. That's getting the water in you and out you in 15 minutes. And quite frankly, that is impossible. It is literally impossible for a human being to completely have water go through their body in 15 minutes. And so logically, if we follow that rule of it's not one or the other. You can't go for a drink break and go for a toilet break at the same time. The student is going to need the toilet at some point. If they don't take any water breaks, the student is going to need a toilet break at some point during lessons. That is a categorical fact. That is an unequivocal, undeniable fact. You cannot take that right away. You cannot take the ability for them to go to the toilet away, because that will simply not work. You want to talk about distraction from learning time? What about a student? I posed you the question, is it not distracting for a student to be sitting there trying to pay attention to a class, but all they can really think about and all that's really on their mind is how badly they need to go for a wee? I posed you this another question. If a female student begins a certain part of her menstrual cycle during a class, what exactly is she meant to do? Unless she's willing to announce to the whole class that she's just started her period, which is quite an embarrassing thing. And especially for teenage girls, it is quite an embarrassing and touchy subject. Is she just meant to sit there for an hour and 40 minutes, just in a ever-growing pool of blood? It's not, I don't know how they think they can just stop students going to the bathroom. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense from a health perspective, because holding in your urine, especially for long periods of time, can cause urinary tract infections. It is distracting from learning, sitting there needing the toilet. It also doesn't make sense that they're meant to somehow drink the water and get it out of them in the space of 15 to 50 minutes. It doesn't make any sense. They are going to need the toilet during lesson time. And the main reason they're worried is because they might go to the toilet and congregate with each other. Yet they fail to realise the fact that in this school, phones are banned. So I don't actually understand how they're meant to use some sort of telekinesis powers to communicate with other students in different classes to say, let's go to the toilet at this exact time. Yes, they could plan it, and they could say before, oh yeah, everyone asked to go to the toilet at the exact same time. But at the end of the day, they will catch on. They're only going to be there for like 5 minutes. And at the end of the day, being distracted because you need the toilet for 40 minutes of a lesson is more detrimental than being out of the lesson for 5 minutes. Especially if the teacher isn't actually doing anything, they're just doing some written work or a written activity. They aren't going to lose much, apart from maybe they'll have to do the work a little bit quicker. Being distracted completely from learning time whilst you're in learning time for long is more detrimental. Sitting there needing the toilet or sitting there needing to use the facilities for an extended period of time detracts from learning time. If you want to talk about how much learning time is lost due to toilet breaks, how much information is just going one ear and out the other because all the student is thinking about is going to the toilet. There are many things that are good about Bala-Comine High School. The studio theatre, the swimming pool, they're all good things. But this is a poor choice, especially from the Bala-Comine management, for many reasons. Firstly, it hasn't been logically thought through. Secondly, it's simple. The only thing it's trying to do is trying to make the adults and the staff's life easier. I think that's the motivation behind this, because if you have less students going to the toilet, they get less dirty. The tutors who are part of the behavioural management faculty, it's called pastoral in that school, they have an easier life because they don't have to worry about students going in and around the toilets. It's less work for the teachers because they don't have to think about students wanting or needing to go to the toilet. It's trying to make the adults' life easier, and quite frankly, that's preposterous and disgusting. A lot of teachers like to make the point that, well, I'm not allowed to go to the toilet during lesson time, but you're an adult. You have more bladder control than the children. The children, who are 10 years younger than you, they do not have fully developed bladder control. That's just a fact. They are going to need the toilet more suddenly and more desperately than adults are. Another biological fact. Anyway, I'm spitting a lot of facts here, and a lot of the stuff that I'm hearing coming out of Bala-Comine High School is a little bit off, a little bit silly, a little bit goofy. And the strictness that they're putting, saying they're not allowed to, they are being taught, students are now, even before these rules are these supposed rumoured rules are being imposed, if they do actually get imposed, I hope they don't, but even before then, students were being told more and more often that they're not allowed to go to the toilet or to get a drink of water during lesson time. And it is just so unbelievably ridiculous, does not make any sense, and lacks so much empathy and care for students. And it also just lacks logic. it lacks logic. And if any education minister, any education person, if anyone in the education sector, especially from Bala Community High School, would like to come debate these topics with me, I'd be quite frankly to have a special episode of the Red-Headed Podcast. But I doubt anyone will, because, you know, they'd know they'd lose.